The traveler didn't leave instructions in words, it left them in places, in stone that shouldn't have been carved, in doors that shouldn't have existed, in the kind of silence that feels deliberate, like the universe has been holding something back, waiting for the right person to step close enough to hear it. And then, after what feels like forever, the traveler stirs. Not like a siren, not like a thunderclap, more like the air itself changes weight, and you realize the sky has been watching you the whole time. Your ghost drifts nearer, voice low, almost careful, as if speaking too loudly might wake something else along with it. It doesn't give you a prophecy, it gives you a feeling. After a long darkness, something has started moving again. That's the moment you understand why the quiet missions never feel quiet. The Vanguard calls it a routine sweep, a scavenger run, another pass through old ruins to make sure nothing dangerous is waking up inside them. But the coordinates they hand you aren't random. They're a scar on a map. The drop zone is the EDZ, where the world still looks like it's mid-collapse if you squint, concrete snapped open, steel ribs exposed, nature trying to reclaim everything it can't eat. You land near a Braytech site that should have been swallowed by time, but the building refuses to disappear. It stands there half crushed, half frozen, like a warning that never finished being spoken. It howls through collapsed corridors and torn metal with the steady rage of something that never got closure. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just constant. A sound that follows you like it's memorizing your footsteps. Your ghost's light slices through the dark, and for a moment you let the familiar thought crawl in. Maybe what you started here. Maybe your second life isn't a miracle, but a leftover, something human hands built and then lost control of. It's an easy story to believe in places like this. Everything here looks engineered. Everything here looks like it could have built anything, if the world hadn't ended first. You move deeper, stepping over broken consoles and ice-slick stairs, and the air grows colder in a way that doesn't feel natural. Your ghost pauses more often than usual, scanning not for enemies, but for patterns. Then its beam catches something wrong. Not damaged wrong, not ruin wrong. Hidden wrong. A seam in the wall where there shouldn't be a seam. A line too straight, too clean, too stubbornly intact to be an accident. Your ghost hovers close, light trembling slightly, as if it recognizes the shape without understanding why. You press your glove to the stone. Nothing. You press harder. Still nothing. Your ghost drifts forward, slowly, like it's approaching a sleeping animal, and the light inside it brightens just enough to make the seam answer back. A faint glow flickers along the edges. The stone shivers, as if something behind it just remembered how to open. With a grinding sigh, the wall slides aside. The passage beyond is narrow and untouched, air so cold and clean it feels like stepping into a tomb that never got raided. Your ghost slips through first, and for the first time since you landed, the wind stops. The silence inside is total. It isn't the silence of no enemies. It's the silence of a place that was sealed on purpose. Your ghost's beam blooms across the chamber, and your stomach drops. The symbols carved into the stone aren't Braytech. They aren't warnings. They aren't corporate marks. They belong to the traveler. You've seen those shapes in too many places to mistake them now. The same simple geometry, the same quiet authority, like something immense once pressed its will into the world and expected it to last. Your ghost floats motionless beside you, and you realize you're staring at proof that this wasn't a forgotten room. This was a message. In the center of the chamber, etched into the stone like a vow meant to outlive anyone who might read it, a sentence waits. Simple enough to fit on a single line, heavy enough to rearrange your timeline. We honor those who came before. For a moment, you don't breathe, because those who came before isn't the Braytech employees. It isn't the scientists who froze here. It isn't even the dead scattered across the EDZ. It sounds like something older. Something the city doesn't talk about. Your ghost scans the chamber, and the symbols begin to make a different kind of sense. Not decorative, not ceremonial, sequential, repeating shapes in repeating places. A pattern that feels like a language designed to be understood by someone who doesn't know the whole story yet. Someone who can only follow one step at a time. A map, built out of markers. Your ghost projects a ghostly overlay in the air, points and lines connecting in a way that doesn't look like a route so much as an invitation. It's not telling you, go here for loot. It's telling you quietly, there's more. If you like lore told like this, tight, cinematic, story first, quick thanks for being here. Like and subscribe. It helps a lot. And tell me what other games or series you want lore videos for, because I build the next deep dive straight from your requests. You step back out into the EDZ and the wind hits you like a slap, louder than before. The world feels uglier now, not because it changed, but because you did. Braytech isn't the author of what you found. It was camouflage. The Traveler's Mark is buried under a human ruin, like someone wanted the truth to survive the collapse by hiding it inside the bones of the Golden Age. Your ghost locks the symbol sequence and the coordinates together, and the next match is so far from Earth it feels like a dare. Europa. The jump to orbit is smooth, but your thoughts aren't. The sealed chamber stays in your mind like an afterimage. The phrase repeats on a loop, honor those who came before, until it starts to sound less like respect and more like instruction. When you land on Europa, the cold feels personal. Earth's ruins feel like a world that broke. Europa feels like a world that chose to freeze its secrets rather than let them rot. Your ghost guides you through corridors that look too clean to be abandoned, too deliberate to be accidental. The deeper you go, the quieter it gets, until even your steps feel muffled, as if the building is trying not to wake whatever it's hiding. Then you reach a vault door. It isn't dramatic. It's worse than dramatic. It's practical. Sealed tight enough to keep warmth out, tight enough to keep time out. Your ghost works the lock with a careful patience that feels almost respectful, like it knows this isn't just a door. It opens with a slow reluctance. Inside, the light changes. Rows of stasis pods line the room, each holding a human shape suspended in perfect stillness. Not a morgue, not a hospital, a waiting room for the past. You step closer, and the frost on the glass catches your ghost's beam, turning the faces inside into pale ghosts of people who never got to finish dying. The word forms in your mind before you want it to. Test subjects. Your ghost doesn't joke here. It doesn't fill the silence. Because this isn't a battlefield. It's a question. This vault holds clues tied to the most personal mystery you've ever carried. What makes a guardian possible? What kind of history could lead to a second life that begins in the dirt with no name and no memories? You let your gaze drift across the pods, and the sealed chamber on Earth comes crashing back into your awareness. Traveler symbols, hidden doors, those who came before. 2 worlds, 2 markers, 1 pattern. The map is real, not because you want it to be, because someone built it. Your ghost's light sweeps the vault walls, and there they are again, faint at first, half buried under ice and time, but unmistakable now that you know how to see them. The same language, repeated. The same insistence that this story doesn't start where the city likes to start it. Your ghost hovers near your shoulder, and for a second, the whole vault feels like it's waiting. Like the universe is watching to see whether you'll take the next step. You don't have answers yet? You have proof. So you do what Guardians do when the universe gets too big and too quiet. You choose motion. You record everything. You tag the symbols. You lock the sequence into your ghost's memory like it's a relic you can't afford to drop. And as you turn away from the pods, something like fear tries to rise. Fear of being guided, fear of being late, fear of opening doors that can't be closed again. Your mouth finds a line that tastes like defiance, because defiance is what you do when the dark wants you small. I have walked among the stars and stared down gods. I fear nothing. It doesn't sound like swagger in this place. It sounds like a vow. Back in orbit, your ghost projects the sequence again. Now, with 2 markers confirmed, the pattern has shape. It's not one destination. It's a chain. One sealed message pointing to the next. And that's the mini-arc resolved. You followed the Traveler's Trail from a hidden chamber beneath a collapsed Braytech site to a frozen vault on Europa. 2 linked points that shouldn't be linked at all, unless someone wanted you to keep going. Orbit should feel clean. After Europa's vault, after the frost and the sealed silence, space is supposed to be simple, black, cold, honest. But the moment your ship levels out, your ghost projects the symbol sequence again, and suddenly the cockpit feels crowded. Not with enemies. With intent. The pattern isn't random anymore. 2 points confirmed, E, D, Z, and Europa, turn the shapes into a sentence you can't unread. 1 marker leads to another. And if the Traveler carved the first door and echoed the same language into the ice, then the next step isn't guesswork. It's obedience, or refusal. You try to sleep anyway. You don't make it far, because the moment your eyes close, the dream comes in like a hand over your mouth. Quiet, firm, impossible to argue with. You don't see a face, you don't hear a voice the normal way. You just know. In your head, you hear the traveler's truth. You sit up hard in your bunk, breath loud, heart trying to sprint out of your ribs. Your ghost is already there, hovering too close, light steady but watchful, as if it felt the dream like a tremor through the bond. Neither of you says, "We should go back." You just go back. The EDZ welcomes you with the same old anger. Wind cutting through collapsed Braytech metal, the facility's ribs humming like they're still bracing for impact. It's familiar now, the kind of ruin you can navigate by muscle memory. And that familiarity is exactly what makes the next discovery feel like a trap. Because you're not searching for a hidden door anymore, you're searching for the next instruction. The symbols lead you past the chamber you already opened, deeper into the carcass of Braytech, down a corridor that looks ordinary until your ghost's beam catches a faint curve in the stone. A tiny echo of the traveler's language, almost rubbed away, almost missed. Your ghost slows, floats closer, then its light brightens, just enough to make the carving answer back like an eye reflecting in the dark. A panel slides aside with a tired groan. Inside is a reliquary. Not a weapon rack, not a computer bay. Something placed with care and then buried under a human ruin, like the safest way to protect it was to let humanity's own collapse become the lock. Your ghost scans it and goes quiet. You rest your hand on the stone, and the world tilts. For a heartbeat, you're standing somewhere else. Streetlights, tall buildings, rain-slick darkness. A city that feels like it should be alive, until the air itself turns wrong and the skyline becomes a silhouette of panic. Night City, ghost of tomorrow. The vision doesn't linger, it doesn't explain itself. It hits like a bruise, and then it's gone, leaving you back in the Braytech corridor with your palm still pressed to the reliquary and your throat tight like you just swallowed ice. That's the first hard truth of the map. It isn't leading you to comfort. It's leading you to memory, sharp, ugly memory, preserved on purpose. Your ghost's light dips, flickers once, then steadies. It drifts close, voice low, like it's saying the words for itself as much as for you. This flame must never die. You exhale slowly and step back from the reliquary, because now you understand what the sealed chamber meant by honoring the past. It wasn't a monument, it was a warning label. You pull the symbol sequence from the reliquary's base, another subtle variation, another small change that makes your ghost recalculate the route like a navigator correcting course. The overlay shifts, lines snapping into place, and the next marker lands far from ice and far from ruins. Sand. The desert is quiet in a way the EDZ'd never is. No screaming wind through metal bones, no frozen corridors humming with old electricity. Just an endless horizon and dry air that feels too patient, like it can afford to wait because everything else eventually ends up here. Your ghost guides you to a shallow depression half buried by time. In the center sits an urn, simple, ancient, the kind of object you could dismiss as decoration if your ghost hadn't brought you here on a trail of traveler symbols that should not exist in the places you found them. You kneel. You don't touch it right away. Because the reliquary taught you something. These relics don't show you what you want. They show you what you need to carry. You set your palm against the urn. The vision comes in like sand pouring through a crack. Not a single person, not a single battle. A whole guardian age, built, lived, defended, then swallowed so completely it's like the city never learned to speak its name. You catch flashes, banners you don't recognize, armor styles that never made it into tower tradition, a sense of community that feels painfully real. And underneath it, the message lands with blunt certainty. Wisdom lies buried beneath the sands. When the vision fades, you're still kneeling, hand on the urn, breathing like you ran a mile. The desert looks the same, but you don't. You can't, because now the phrase from the sealed chamber finally clicks into place. Not as poetry, but as instruction written across centuries. We honor those who came before. Before doesn't just mean earlier, it means forgotten. Your ghost hovers beside you, light steady again, and for the first time since you began this trail, it speaks like it's reminding both of you what this is really for. We fight for those who cannot defend themselves. Out here, that line doesn't feel like a slogan. It feels like a promise to the dead. You stand and step back from the urn. The symbol sequence in your ghost's projection looks clearer now. Not because it changed, but because you finally understand what kind of map it is. Not a route to a destination, a route to a truth the city can't afford to lose. On the return flight, you pass a small camp on the edge of nowhere. People gathered around fragments of the traveler like they're holy fossils. They don't look up at the great sphere in the sky with certainty. They look down at the pieces they can touch, and they try to make meaning out of what survived. And for the first time, you don't see desperation, you see instinct. Faith finds itself in even broken things. Back in the tower, you don't walk straight to the Vanguard. You don't disappear into a sealed room to let strategy crush the story into something safe. You go somewhere public, somewhere ordinary. Because if the traveler left a map, then it wasn't meant to be followed by one guardian and then hidden again behind politics. A map only matters if people are allowed to know there is a trail. You place what you brought back where others can see it. Small enough to miss, important enough to change someone's day if they stop and actually look. A marker that says, without shouting, "You were not the first, and you won't be the last." As you step away, your ghost drifts close, and the fear tries to rise again. The fear of being guided, of being chosen, of being late. You swallow it, and the line you've been leaning on since Europa comes out quieter now, stripped of swagger and filled with something harder. I have walked among the stars and stared down gods. I fear nothing. This time, it doesn't sound like a boast. It sounds like consent. Because the mini-arc is complete, you followed the traveler's map beyond the first two markers, and the trail revealed what it was always about: preserved warnings, buried wisdom, and a lost legacy that deserves to be carried back into the light. The first time you see someone stop in front of what you brought back, you almost keep walking, not because you don't care, because you do. Too much. And caring is dangerous in the tower. Caring turns discoveries into arguments, and arguments into committees, and committees into locked doors with the key misplaced for everyone's safety. But the person doesn't glance and move on. They stare. A civilian, hands rough, shoulders tired, the kind of posture you only get when your whole life has been built out of surviving someone else's disaster. They lean in like they're reading something written in a language they shouldn't understand. And then they do something you didn't plan for. They kneel, no drama, no announcement, just a slow, careful lowering of the body, as if respect has weight. Your ghost hovers close to you, light steady, and for the first time since the reliquary's vision, you feel the map doing what it was meant to do, not leading you to the next secret, changing what the city remembers. Word spreads, the way truth always spreads, in a place built on rumor and relief, quietly, sideways, through glances and muttered, "Did you see that?" People come in pairs. Then small groups. Then strangers who pretend they're passing by and somehow always slow down at the same spot. Some of them look angry, some look haunted, some look like they've been waiting their whole lives to be told the past wasn't as small as it felt. And the longer you watch, the more you realize something that hits harder than any vision. The city doesn't just need walls, it needs inheritance. Because if those who came before stayed buried, then every guardian is forced to believe they're the first line of defense, the first generation of miracles, the beginning of everything that matters. And beginnings are fragile. Beginnings can fail and think they're alone. But a lineage survives. Your ghost tugs at your sleeve with a tiny pulse of light. Your bond, your private language, a warning without words. The Vanguard wants you. The meeting room is the same as ever. Hard angles, hard faces, hard decisions. They don't greet you with celebration. They greet you with the look people wear when they're trying to decide whether a truth belongs in sunlight or in a vault. You lay out what you found again, clean, simple, undeniable. A sealed chamber beneath Braytek's corpse, marked in traveler language. A stasis vault on Europa holding humans in waiting. A reliquary that doesn't show you treasure, but disaster. Night City, ghost of tomorrow. An urn in the sand that reveals a whole guardian age, erased from the city's story. And a message that doesn't ask politely. Wisdom lies buried beneath the sands. You keep your voice steady because you've learned how quickly emotion can be used as an excuse to dismiss reality. And you watch the room react in real time, not to the facts, but to what the facts demand. One commander wants to lock everything down until we understand the risk. Another wants to weaponize it, turn the map into a strategic pipeline, a route to power, a new edge against enemies. And then someone says the quiet sentence that makes the room colder than Europa ever did. What if it's not a map for us? You feel your ghost stiffen beside you. The implication hangs in the air like smoke, that the traveler left this trail not to help you, but to shape you, not to inform you, but to direct you, not to honor the past, but to control the future. It's a fear that makes sense. It's also a fear that can become an excuse to stop moving. Your ghost finally speaks, voice soft but unshakable, like it's reciting a vow it didn't choose but refuses to betray. This flame must never die. The room goes silent because nobody in there can argue with that without revealing something ugly about themselves. You step forward and make the decision before the debate can grind the map into dust. You can classify the coordinates, you say. You can lock down the relic sites. You can do your job. You pause just long enough to make sure every eye is on you. But you don't get to bury the meaning. Because this is the truth you've been circling since the first sealed door opened. The map isn't just a route through space. It's a route through memory. If the city forgets the past, it becomes easy to convince people the present is all there is. Easy to control, easy to frighten, easy to break. But if the city remembers that there were ages before, that there were guardians before, that survival has roots deeper than today's walls, then despair has less room to grow. You leave the meeting before anyone can answer because you already know how that conversation ends if you let it. More meetings, more caution, more later. Later is how truths die. Outside, the traveler fills the sky, silent, impossibly present. It looks the same as it always has, and that's what's so dangerous about it. Something can be unchanged and still be moving you. Your ghost floats at your shoulder, steady now, as if it's made peace with the idea that guidance doesn't have to be chains. You think it wanted this? It asks, careful, almost vulnerable. You look out over the city lights, over the people moving like they always do, surviving another day without knowing what you've dragged back into their story. You don't pretend you're certain, but you are sure of one thing because you've seen the shape of the trail. Doors that waited, symbols that endured, relics that preserved warnings instead of comforts. It wanted someone to find it, you say. Your ghost's light brightens a fraction, and you feel something settle between you, something steadier than fear. Not obedience, choice. Because a map can be many things. A trap, a gift, a test, but no matter what it is, it doesn't walk on its own. You do. You return to the public place where you left the marker. More people have gathered now. Someone has added a small offering. Nothing official, just a scrap of cloth tied with care. Someone else has set a candle. A child asks a question a parent doesn't know how to answer, and the parent doesn't lie. They just say, they mattered. You stand in the back and watch the city begin, slowly, to do the thing it's worst at and most in need of. Remember, your ghost drifts close and speaks the line that started as duty and now feels like a promise wide enough to include the dead. We fight for those who cannot defend themselves. And you finally hear everything inside it. Every civilian behind the walls, every lost guardian age under sand, every frozen life in Europa's vault, every sealed message carved into stone for hands that hadn't been born yet. You tilt your head up one last time to the traveler's vast silence, and the bravado line rises in you, not as swagger, not as performance, not as denial, as commitment. I have walked among the stars and stared down gods. I fear nothing, because now you understand what the map really cost. Not danger, not ammo, not blood. Attention, the willingness to look at the past long enough to carry it home. And that's the ending you can live with. The traveler left a map, you followed it, and you didn't hoard what you found. You brought it back into the light, so those who came before could finally stop being buried.